Shalom Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai by Shem Kadash. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, elders, bishops, great millstone, much salutation to the brother teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect. Most High will. He said he's shortening the time for the elect's sake, and the elect work is being done to the contrite spirits, returning back to the Most High blessings. Extended hopeful elect. Shalom. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but, I'm going to call it something like Black Woman Lost Her Glory. And, glory is her hair. And I'll pull that scripture. And I'll mention the curses too. It says, 1 Corinthians 11:15, but if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. So, you got, a lot of black women shave their head to start a new path, so to speak, a new way of life, living, to be different, what have you. And then, some pictures you'll have a black woman in a crown. But, a crown is significant with hair too. And I'll show you that. So, we have a crown for a king. But a woman really, that crown that they picture, have pictures of her with, she want to relate it to her being a queen. Well, if you go in that word queen, it means basically slut or a prostitute, spelled Quean. So, they don't even know that. It lets you know that they don't really look into words and information, which is important that apostles and elders always mention. They make fun of Jada, Chris Rock, when she, about the alopecia thing, and calling G.I. Jane, which is a reference to that movie G.I. Jane with Demi Moore when she was bald in that movie. And I forget, I don't even know how that movie goes. She might have had played a role where she actually had that in the movie, Demi Moore, to where she had to cut her hair. I don't know, but that's what he was saying, that reference to that movie. But anyway, now they had and then I looked up shaving the head. It's in AI, it said, a co-pilot answer of AI, it says shaving the head is a sign of mourning in the Bible. For example, in the book of Job, Job shaved his head as an expression of profound grief and loss. The practice of shaving the head is mentioned several times in the Bible, often associated with religious vows, mourning, purification rituals, holds significant cultural and spiritual meaning. But the woman, that's why the women wear wigs, weaves and all that. She'll put wigs on her top of her hair. They got, what do you call it? No, I looked up. So yeah, but if a woman have long hair, because before this it says, it's a shame for a man to have long hair. So a man is not supposed to have long hair like a woman. And the opposite, and then the verse says, but if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is a giving her for a covering. And then it says, paraphrasing, that a man don't need no covering as much as he is the son of God, paraphrasing. So we don't need a covering, but, her hair is her covering, and a lot of times, even growing up in the 80s and 90s, it's 70s too. You had natural hair. You had, you know, before all the processed chemicals, you know, that now black women they use it just for meat kits, the straightening of the hair, the hot comb, and all that. I mean, hot combs are not new, but they really start using the perms and the chemicals in their hair. As far as I know, starting with the 90s. But as you see pictures of the 1970s, women had natural hair. And you don't see no perms and all that. And I'll show you a few pictures in a minute. But Most High said he would smite the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion. I'm gonna get that now. There's a such thing as Crown Act. It says the Crown Act, or creating a respectful. This is what it's an acronym for creating a respectful and open world for Natural Hair Act. Natural hair, not processed, not chemicalized. It is a law that prohibits race-based discrimination in the workplace in the K-12 public and charter schools. It specifically addresses discrimination based on hair texture or protective hairstyles commonly associated with people of color, such as braids, locks, twists, and Bantu knots. Crown Act aims to prevent individuals from being denied employment or educational opportunities due to their natural hair. So yeah, and then you have that a woman pictured with her natural hair right here. Instead of now, official campaign of the Crown Act is led by the Crown Coalition, founded by Dove, National Arab League, Color of Change, and Western Center on Law and Poverty. And that goes with saying because still you can have people and their women having their natural hair, but they'll still blonde it, put chemicals in it, and you're not supposed to blonde your hair. That's considered as a curse itself for your hair to be blonde, Anyway, let me get that scripture. Smite the crown, and I'm gonna look up that definition crown. Let's see, I think it's in this one. All right, so I'm gonna read that verse. It says. It says, therefore, starting at Isaiah 3 and 17, therefore the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head. So it's not talking about like crown that you wear like a king's crown. It's talking about their hair. The crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. So who are the daughters of Zion? The so-called black woman, Latina woman, Native American, so-called Native American woman. West Indies, the Haitians and the Cubans, Puerto Ricans, but the black woman is the main woman. She's the head of all the other women tribes, Judah. So I looked up the word crown, and here's the definition. Let me get in the
Strong's H 6936.
Code. And it looks like Quada, or quad, which means head, crown of head, top of head, hairy crown, scalp, pate, scalp, top of the head. And you, as a part, and you have, I think that word pate goes into plated too, which is the Most High said, not let your adorning be in the outside with braided. Let me get that right quick. It lets you know it's talking about the black woman too, because it's not a common thing for a so-called white, so-called white woman, an Edomite, to have braided hair. Um, and if you go on that word plated, that's same thing as braided or weaved. And our women are, infatuated with weave. They got weave shops and everything. Let me see. So that lets you know these are people. Like, you could tell a lot that who the Israelites too, as well as the spirit that these people don't have that through our women. Outside, let me see. Come on, man. I gotta look it up. Okay, 1 Timothy 2:9. It says, advises women to adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Let me see what the King James Version. See right here, it says, in like manner, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair, and braided right there, and gold or pearls of costly array. Let me go ahead and in the next verse, let me see. I want to get that word where it says plated too. It says, let not that your adorning be on the outside, like, you know. So, and then they got a whole, like I said, they got a whole hair industry of braiding hair, where they can have a platform for themselves to be, established, without the men. Let me see. Let me get that word plated, see if it pops up. And plated and braided, you already know what that means. It's like you braiding hair. It's spelled differently, I think. Yeah, outward adorning is 1 Peter 3:3. Whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold. And if you look up that word plating, you're gonna see it's weave, plating right here, blue letter. It's why it's important to use the blue letter. Sometimes you throw out the bones every now and then. Plating, Greek word.
Strong's G 1708. Implaqué.
Implaqué. And there you go. Interweaving. There's weave right there. Braiding a knot. So-called white women, and these other nations don't be putting their hair in knots. Every now and then you see a Chinese, woman wearing, braided hair. She might be a Jake. Sometimes the so-called white women do that, but it's really the black woman. She's known for this. She's known for braiding hair, a business of braiding hair, in any kind of styles. Lokes, that's what the Crown Act was about. Lokes, you know, whatever they want to wear, braids straight back, you know. Um, so that's definitely that lets you know that we Israelites, we the Israelites, in many other ways. Um, and then you work the crown and the and etymology, ornament for the head as a symbol of sovereignty. Let me see. Come on. Ah, let me go back right quick. I don't like this little new layout. I don't know if this is a new layout of the blue etymology. It didn't usually look like this. Maybe I can change it. Maybe I have to sign into it. Originally, wreath, garland, anything curved, a kind of crown. Uh, Curved or hooked formed objects. So we get the gist of it. The crowning honor of distinction. Yeah, and then people touch, even the Negroes' hair. Period. People touch it. It's peculiar. It's different from everybody. Everybody looks like, what, can I touch your hair? Whether it be in the form of Afro or whether it be even the Latin tribes, because they got curly hair too, kinky hair too. Um, Let me look up sovereignty right quick. Ah, man. Supreme. How can we supreme the authority of stating state to govern itself or another state? Self rule. Um, so so they promote that as uh, um, they promote that instead of being submissive and their hair is a crown of glory. They promote an actual crown and they take on the spirit of sovereignty, so to speak, with authority to self-proclaim themselves as having power. You know, even with it could be with the man, but lately and most likely today it would be without the man. Freedom, you know. So they, even with this Crown Act, they've created establishments to where they can have something for themselves. You know, you see, it's all women here, and they look at the so-called white man in the midst of all that. Signing whatever. So this is not for the so-called black men or support for the so-called black men. And even with this natural hair thing, like I said, some of them have blonde hair, but rarely do you see now that they wear their natural hair in this day. I don't know, when was the Crown Act? Let me see when this was. Pretty sure it was maybe the 1990s or something. It might say this right here. Well, the Crown Act initially on April 30th, 2024, the measure of HR 8191, or the Creating Respectful. So it was reintroduced by Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman. The Crown Act initially passed on a vote of 235 to 189 in March 2023. On May 1st, 2024, the measure of S4224 was reintroduced by Senator Cory Booker. I didn't know it was that new. But anyway, look at the representative. She's bald as hell. But that's they consider that natural too. You know, a fresh look for the black woman. But no, it's just said in the scriptures, her hair is a glory, and it shows in many respects when she puts on the weave. Now let me see what I was gonna get. Black women and 19. You don't even have to put natural hairs. They're just gonna all. It's gonna just pop up because that's how they wore their hair. Um, this woman, these women, you know, all natural hair. They're showing a little body and all that, but the hair was natural. Pam Grier, she got an afro, natural, and today for them, especially when getting jobs and all that, afro is not attractive no more in this world. Of course, Esau wants everything laid down and softened up with black people, especially the black man. Even Jake, black man Jake, he started getting perms and slick hair and turned it into a pimp thing. And Shirley Temples, which came from the actual idea, came from the actual little girl Shirley Temple. But I'll show you Shirley Temple just in case you're kind of young. This is Shirley Temple. She many roles as a child, young. She had that's the Shirley Temple hairstyle right here that Jake imitated. And if you look up Shirley Temple black hairstyle, it'll pop up. And Snoop had that, a lot of gangsters had that, a lot of pimps, whatever. And really, it really goes back to us because our hair is naturally curly, whatever. So it's not really, shouldn't really even be called Shirley Temple, a hairstyle. See, that's Snoop with the Shirley Temple hairstyle right here. So, black people, period, got a, so to speak, uh, infatuation with hair. You got flat tops, you got lines in your hair. That's why GMS don't do all that, fashion shit. Even with the long braids and long dreads and all that, we don't do dreads, period. But there's limits and laws to what we do, how we act, and that's why the Most High put these kind of scriptures in there. Now this is a more relaxed. Yeah, they call it relaxer too, or just for me kit. Every black girl couldn't wait to get a just for me to lay that hair down like this and make it look, more soothing and silky. Um, I know, remember that song, "Just Let Your Soul Glow" in American, Coming to America. They had that scene, and then he, that some of the words was that silky glow or something like that. They used the word silk in there. But Snoop Dogg on that what is that song? Lay Low. He like got up and came into the club just to swing in my hair. It was long enough that you just or the curl with black people. With Michael Jackson got the activator and the even in the Hollywood Shuffle movie they got the hair activator and all kind of gels and all that, the blue magic and all that. So we got a thing for hair. That's why, we ain't supposed to be adorning it, you know, dressing up to the matters to where it gets in the way of our, what do you call it, our focus or who we supposed to really be serving and then worshiping and adoring. And, the afros, in a way, was a statement of rebellion. Even though it's your natural hair, during the Black Panther movement, it was a state of rebellion. It was a look, that, the feds and the government, FBI, if you will, identified with rebellion, rebellious black people. And it had nothing to do with that. It's basically a normal trait of ours, But just like now, we do things normally as we do, but they, consider us a cult, for our practices. You know what I'm saying? If you have a family, they do certain things a certain way. You're not gonna call them a cult. You're just gonna be like, well, that family doesn't do that. You know, if we wanted to go into so-called white people's history of their homes, they let dogs sleep in the bed or sleep at the table. We could say, well, y'all in the court, y'all got something going on in this motherfucker. Like we don't, this is strange to us. So, it could be vice versa. But what the way we profess, what we talk about concerning our people and this natural state is really just what it is. It's natural, you know. Like even with the beards, the coat they wear beards. It's natural to grow your beard, you dumbasses. You know, it just grows out of your face, man. You can groom it, but it just grows out of your face. You don't use no chemicals and all that to grow your beard. So, um, anyway, in the Most High, he don't down. You can't down the power of all powers. You can't take away from his ultimate super power intelligence. I don't even want to use that word, but in human terms, to act like we were just cave people, you know, because we had to learn how to groom ourselves, learn what a pick was, learn how to cut it. If that was the case, we would have died off, man. You know, we knew that we were made by an intelligent, highly out of this world, uh, you know, power to where when he made us, he already knew what we needed. He already knew the flesh is just for that. Is to be groomed. Is to be fed. Is to be taken care of like a house. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know. A lot of now women you can barely find them without makeup. And that was another thing of harlotry too. They called it painting in the scriptures. Let me see if I can pull it up. And it painting their faces. King James Version. So we're not moving toward natural, waking up to the scriptures, yeah, but our people are moving toward more monstrous, out of this well bugged out lifestyle. It says they would be all like Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't want to use that one. Bible verse about wearing makeup. Though thou closest uh, closest thyself with crimson, though thou deckest thee with ornaments of gold, that thou rentest thy face with painting. See, in vain thou shalt make thyself fair. Thy lovers will. So, painting is also significant with a reference to makeup. Jeremiah 40 and 30. When thou art spoiled, what wilt thou do? Though thou clothe thyself with crimson, though thou deckest with the ornaments of gold, though thou rendest thy face with painting, in vain shalt thou make thyself fair. Thy lovers will despise thee, they will seek thy life. You know, and I think it's also one that has, oh yeah, 2 Kings 9 and 30. It says, and when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tired her head and looked out a window. So she painted her face, man. That's makeup. And makeup is really not good for you. They're trying to make it where it's natural, and they put in like it's, healthy, putting more, this makeup is made of this and that. Now, I mean, and I think brothers have even made a video that there's poison in in that makeup, you know. So they putting that on their face. But even, when you go back to the 1970s, some of the 1980s, when they were more natural, they were beautiful. Yeah, they didn't need no makeup. And a lot of our women, you know, most of our women today, I believe that they don't need makeup, you know. And you got people like that stand out in the celebrity world, like Lil Kim, and then they go from an old picture to a new picture, and they say, "Damn, she was pretty. Why did she do that?" And every now and then you might be like, she is, hear a woman say, "Well, her nose got broken," and you could, without doing all that cosmetic surgery, you can, uh, you can have small surgical procedures to fix your nose without those cosmetics with makeup and all that. So they ain't the reason. She looks like Latoya Jackson now, you know. But that's that celebrity fame and fans world. That idol worship, and that's another thing. You know, if you have a young daughter growing up, she look at Cardi B or look at Sukihana, Sexy Red, one of them, and they got they flossing around and talking shit and look like they got power and all that, and they want to wear makeup like that too. They want to wear uh, fingernail polish too. They want to wear because they see it, you know. So, and that's the test of life. That's part of the test of life. We're gonna see this shit, man. Most High gonna let us see it because we have to make a choice of what we desire more, Most High or the worldly, physical things that have been turned to corruption. And the Bible says that all these things are vain, moth eaten and corrupt, you know, and that's what it's become. And it used to be natural, more natural. Water, food, the air we breathe is all corrupted, polluted. The trees, now it's GMO. Now it's plastic. Now it's everything's fake. All the women want to be Barbie dolls and plastic and BBLs and all that. And it's just bugged out, man. It's just all the way bugged out, you know. They don't like their skin color. They don't like their natural hair. And then, like I said, on the flip side, ironic side, I guess you could call it, being an oxymoron. These women, they're natural. When they do get natural and all natural, they with so-called white people. So we don't get to enjoy the naturalness of our women anyway, because those are the ones that's in the high job positions, and then guess who they end up marrying. And you got a few out there, black women, natural hair, and husband. They're single, you know. I put husband. It ain't showing no men. You got a few of them out there, but a lot of them would eat them. But anyway, black women, they need to go to Isaiah 3 and 15 and look at their curses and see how they can improve in those, as well as we, because we examine ourselves on the man's side. And we have counsel among brothers, so that's already established. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna call this somewhat like the Crown Act, something like that. And black woman lost her glory, and then / Crown Act or whatever. Hope it was edifying. To the next video, Shalom.